Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Spring 2024 episode of the Jackson Heights Beautification Group podcast. I'm your guest host, Chad Tindel, and I play trumpet in the Jackson Heights Orchestra. Today, we're joined again by the JHO's Interim Artistic Director, Alex Wynn. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back. Great to be back with you all.
Actually, Alex, there was kind of a big announcement recently that you signed on to become the permanent artistic director of the JHO, starting with our new season in the fall. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was a great year. I thought we had a lot of fun and we did a lot of great work. So I'm looking forward to another year and more music to come.
This season's been great so far. Both concerts that we had were standing room only in the church. Obviously, very popular repertoire, and people want to come see what you're doing. So that's been great. And I think we're all looking forward to what happens next year. So congratulations again.
I'm astounded. Thank you. I'm astounded because the community, like I said from the first moment, really comes out and shows up. One of the really fun parts is when we do rehearsals, I've seen people kind of peek in. There's a door to the outside to the neighborhood, and so we see some faces peek in, or we hear
the music is calling to them. Yeah,
that's right. It really floods out those doors. It's wonderful.
All right, let's start with a quick promo for the upcoming Jackson Heights Orchestra concert, which will be held on Wednesday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Jackson Heights. There is no admission fee. As a community orchestra, our mission is to make great music accessible to all members of the community. We'll talk more about that concert program later in the show, but for now, don't forget to mark your calendars and see the website jhorchestra.org for details on donating to support the orchestra so we can keep making this music available to everyone. Also, mark your calendars for our annual outdoor summer concert, Sunday, July 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in Travers Park in Jackson Heights. It's always a fun environment out there. Lots of families come out watching and the kids running around on the playground while we play music. It's great fun. I caught up with the JHO's assistant conductor, Winchi Lee, who will be conducting that concert in July, about her plans for the summer concert, and this is what she had to say.
I'm so excited to be conducting the Jackson Heights Orchestra on July 7th. This is our annual concert in Travers Park, and it's part of JHBG's Summer Sundays concert series. This year, we plan on bringing back some old favorites like Sousa, Louis Armstrong, and John Williams, while adding some new pieces, music from video games and musicals, and we'll be featuring composers from Scott Joplin to Juan Gabriel. And it should be a great time, and the concert is free to all, so bring your family and friends to Travers Park on July 7th at 6 p.m. See you there.
All right, Alex, let's talk about the upcoming May concert, and maybe we'll just run through the concert order, one work at a time.
That's right. So we have a great collection of works for you that really center around our theme of enchantment and tales and magic and secrets, right? You get the idea. And it starts with the Danza Ritual de Fuego by composer Manuel de Falla. And this is a really wonderful excerpt from his ballet.
And that means the ritual fire dance, right?
That's right. Thank you for that. Ritual fire dance. And El Amor Brujo, the ballet from which it comes, is also just magical and enchanted. It is Love, the Sorcerer. And so we take a lot from that, and it's a fiery opening for our concert. Very excited.
What is the purpose of the fire dance here?
Well, I believe so. Our character calls back through the ritual a past lover that's no longer here. And so they do this ritual fire dance. And you hear it in the music as it starts, and you can kind of feel the flames starting from the lower instruments, the bassoon, the cellos, the basses. Of course, it has, as a Spanish composer, the Spanish influence, and you hear the dance rhythms too from the violins too. So this is a wonderful arrangement for our full orchestra, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
That's great. What's coming up after the De Falla?
Well, there's a great connection from Manuel de Falla to Maurice Ravel, right? There's this French-Spanish connection of these two composers. And Ravel also, through his music, hears a lot of Spanish influences. You think of Bolero, that's a quite famous one. But here we actually listen to Ravel's Mother Goose Suite. Now, I love the connection that de Falla wrote his ballet that we're going to play from, and Ravel did the Mother Goose as a ballet as well. But originally, it was written for his close friend's two children as a piano duet. So these are 5 pieces for children, and we're doing 2 of them today. And this became the Mother Goose Suite. So it's a magical, enchanted tale from a lot of these folklore stories from authors. So from the Mother Goose Suite, we're doing the first and the last movement. The Pavane, this is the Sleeping Beauty movement. And then Le Jardin Féerique, which is the fairy or the enchanted garden. And it's almost like Sleeping Beauty being awoken, and you're going to hear that really expand. One of Ravel's master skills was an orchestrator. The great thing you hear is how he uses different parts of the orchestra, not always at the same time, but to create different colors. And this movement really blossoms, and it's a wonderful showcase of Ravel's talent.
Why did you pick those two movements in particular?
Well, they're a great introduction to Ravel, one that's quiet and one that's grand, very grandiose. And I love that we also get to feature our wonderful harpist, Ellen. She'll be back to play some of these beautiful moments in the enchanted or the fairy garden too. So be on the lookout, ears open for that.
It's always nice when we have the harp come play. She sounds so good and so beautiful in that church when she plays. Yeah, and I when I gone to the New York Philharmonic last week to see they played some Ravel pieces, the program notes there actually mentioned that Defaya and Ravel were contemporaries and knew each other and influenced each other musically, traveled back and forth between France and Spain. So it's not just a cultural connection, but a personal one. Those two composers were friends.
Isn't that great? And you get to hear them back to back.
And then after that, we're moving into the Mozart Clarinet Concerto, which from what I understand, was not actually written for clarinet to begin with.
Well, yeah. So Mozart wrote this actually towards the very end of his life, one of his final works too. So writing it for his close friend, virtuosic clarinetist Anton Stadler. It was actually written for the instrument for the basset horn, which extends a little lower too.
Hey, Chad from the future breaking in here just to offer a correction that every time we said basset horn, we actually meant basset clarinet, which is a closely related instrument, but different enough, and Mozart actually wrote the piece for basset clarinet.
But what we play today, what you hear most of the time in performances, will be for the clarinet. It's Mozart's Clarinet Concerto. Speaking of Mozart's late life, at the end of his life, his very short young life, he wrote so many operas, and oftentimes we can think of his instrumental works even as operas, like singing characters. One of the great things I love about the Clarinet Concerto is, and you'll hear Dan Olsen perform this wonderfully, just the vocal prowess, almost like a voice singing a character. So it's a really wonderful piece, and Dan does a phenomenal job with the orchestra.
Yeah, Dan's our principal clarinetist, has been for a long time, and he is a really, really great player. I can't wait to listen to him play this. For people who might not know what a basset horn is that a period piece? Is that just like a clarinet but a little longer? Like what is it really?
It's exactly that. It's a clarinet that's a little longer with an extended lower range. So it has a little bit of a darker tone to it. And typically you'll hear clarinetists talking about going to that low C note that the clarinet doesn't typically reach to.
Is the basset horn used for any other works, or is it really just used for this?
Today we hear it in some other works too. There's not too many compositions for it, but a lot of significant ones are from Mozart, in fact. So some chamber music in his opera, some serenades for woodwinds. So after 1950, there's just some select few too. So I encourage folks to look it up. The basset horn, clarinet family.
It's always interesting because you have like a French horn as a brass instrument, but you have an English horn, which is a reed instrument. And I never think of horns as being a word I would use for reed instrument, but obviously it gets used from time to time like that, which I think is funny.
Right. The mind goes to our wonderful brass family. And
of course. I mean, where else would it go, really?
Just for you, Chad.
Just trumpet's got to represent. All right, we're going to close out the show with the big work, Elgar's Enigma Variations. What is the enigma really in this? Tell us about this work a little bit.
So the great enigma given by Elgar, our composer for this final piece, is one that he never fully shared. He gave us clues to it. And so I want to connect this because from Ravel going to Elgar, both pieces were written for or in dedication to their friends. Elgar writes 14 variations, all as a sketch of each friend or someone close in his life. And the enigma, the secret that he doesn't tell us, is that there's a dark saying, and these are his quotes in his program notes, that is left unguessed, and the connection is very slight through texture of the music. When you first hear Elgar's Enigma variation, the first thing you hear is the main theme. For every variation, each friend, each sketch of a friend, you'll hear a variation on that theme done in a wonderful, humorous, sensitive, serious way. And so through all these variations, the enigma or the secret is that there's an overlying theme, a song, a melody, or a tune that's not physically played in the music or by any parts of the orchestra. So there's a secret tune that should fit right on top of that first theme. Now, over the years and decades, there have been musicologists and musicians, writers, authors who have speculated and given guesses and theories and essays all about this topic, but there hasn't been a definitive answer yet. So it's almost like a guessing game to see what would fit over this.
So Elgar said that there's this theme that fits over it, but I'm not going to tell anybody what it is.
He left it up to us to figure out.
That's wild. So each theme, is it sort of, oh, this friend is like a zany, wild, crazy person, so the music is kind of wild and crazy, and this friend is a somber, thoughtful person, so that movement is somber and thoughtful, or how do we think about this?
It's really interesting. It's not necessarily what the person was like or looked like or sounded like, too. It's a combination of varying reasons, too. So let me highlight a few that are, I think, fun for the audience to listen for. And if you follow along with the program notes, I encourage everyone to also catch which variation we're on as we play it. For example, the first variation is Elgar's wife, Caroline Alice Elgar. So he writes in our music CAE, the initials. And this was based around a little whistling tune that they would do to each other when he got home. And so he paints this picture just with that whistling theme. But remember, this variation plays on that original theme and just kind of turns it upside down on its head, uses fragments, bits, and pieces. So that theme is always underneath somewhere. And yet, that secret melody can work over all of this, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I would be interested to see what some of the proposals that have come forth that people have said, this could work, that could work, and see how different they are. I mean, there's probably a huge range of things that actually could fit there.
There's too many to talk about here, but if you think about Beethoven's Piano Sonata No. 8, that was actually near and dear to his heart, that might be one melody or a counter melody that would fit on top of the theme. Some others have speculated Martin Luther's Ein Festgebirge, a mighty fortress. The hymn could also fit over it. Maybe not perfectly, but there are great theories out there. The Stabat Mater by the composer Pergolesi, and that chorale that might also work in the same harmonies. It's really interesting too. I think one of the clues that he gives us is that one of the variations named Dorabella, which was a friend, is parodied in the Dorabella variation. Now, Elgar also mentions that if anyone should get this enigma, this secret, it should be Dorabella. Things we know about Dorabella was I think a pastor's kid, right? In the church. And so maybe it has religious overtones. One of those theories might work. But what I love about Dorabella's variation, the woodwinds have this wonderful 16th note, right? 16th notes, 4 notes, ta-ta-ta-ta. Dorabella had a stutter. So what do the woodwinds do? What are they asked to do? Stutter a little bit on that first note. Tom-pa-pa-pa. Tom-pa-pa-pa. And it's really fun to listen to as the orchestra plays around this. So what an interesting way to sketch your friends and family and relatives and colleagues, right?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea for a piece. One that's not used that often, I think.
Yeah. And you'll see that the way that we feature instrumentalists like the harp, Ellen playing the harp in the Ravel, Elgar also features solo cello and solo viola. You don't hear that a lot. But the viola variation, named Isabel, is a sketch on a viola student of Elgar. And so if you think about maybe a young string player or a beginning string player practicing string crossings where the bow has to jump between different strings of the viola or the violin. Well, the viola solo does a bit of that in a elementary way, let's just say.
And are you going to be playing the viola from the podium or yourself, or what do you think?
I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you?
I think we all want to see you pick up the viola and play from the podium at some point. That would be awesome.
Well, I'm thankful for our viola section and our violists in the orchestra. They're going to
we got strong players
wonderful sketch of this movement.
That's great. That's great. Now, we mentioned earlier that you've signed on to be the permanent artistic director for next season. Have you given any thoughts to any themes or repertoire choices for next season? Kind of where are you at on that right now?
Yeah, there's a few things that come to mind, right? Before we finish out the year 2024, we have a great chance to celebrate the American composer, Charles Ives. And there's a piece I think audiences will find kind of intriguing, speaking of our theme this concert, called The Unanswered Question. And Charles Ives, why 2024? Well, we're going to be celebrating let me get this right, sesquicentennial, the 150th anniversary or year of his birth. And I think that would be a wonderful piece to program to have on our orchestra concerts and to share with the audience for this upcoming season too.
Awesome. Any other big anchor pieces you're mulling over for the upcoming year?
You know, it never hurts to have a little bit of yeah, never hurts to have a Beethoven symphony in there.
Okay.
Also looking at some composers, and we have some wonderful female composers to highlight: Amy Beach, Fanny Mendelssohn, and I think we should absolutely highlight those. And you know, there might be some fun composers in music like Arturo Marquez, Danzón, a little dancing, a little rhythm. So we're looking forward to a lot of great music to come.
I know we talked earlier, a year ago maybe, about trying to do a collaboration with the Queen's College, your alma mater, and get some students to commission some music from the students there. Is that still an idea you're kicking around?
Yeah. Well, I want to keep talking about that too, because we have a lot of, believe it or not, Queens has such a rich history of music, but also such a great community and wide community too. So from Queen's College to local composers, we absolutely want to include some of those on our programs as well.
Thank you, Alex, for joining the show today. If you'd like to read more about Alex or see his upcoming performance calendar, his website is alexwinmusic.com. For more information about the Jackson Heights Beautification Group, our website is jhbg.org, and we are at JHBGNY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also sign up for our mailing list to receive email announcements of upcoming events and programs. The Jackson Heights Orchestra is at Jackson Heights Orchestra on Facebook and at JH Orchestra on Twitter and Instagram. Our website is jhorchestra.org, where you can see our upcoming schedule. We are dependent on donations and support from community members to continue bringing this great music to Jackson Heights, and we greatly appreciate any support you can offer. Once again, our next concert will be held on Wednesday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Jackson Heights. We hope to see you there. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you for having me.